Hey, what's going on, guys? It is OGC here. Welcome back. Today we will be looking at the SylphTroop race as far as their troops. But first, I wanted to tell you guys how this video came about. So over on Patreon, link in the description below, we have Patreons that can kind of dictate what videos and content is going to come out. So how it works is people sign up depending on the tier. They can. There doesn't have to be a vote, but people can pick options to vote on for a future video coming up for the next week. People then vote on what type of video, and that video comes out. So yeah, today's video is brought to you by Alberto. Alberto came up with the option for this particular video, and it got voted in. So let's jump into this week's video.
Welcome! E aí galera, beleza? Bem-vindo à nossa comunidade.
Welcome to our community.
Hey, and welcome, guys. So today we are going to check out the Sylvian race as far as their troop selection. So you know what? Let's just jump right into it. So let's go all the way over and start off with probably one of the most well-known units from the Sylvian race. This is the Huntress. The Huntress is going to be your main frontline type of troop when it comes to PvP. The reason for that is Huntresses have really good evade. With the new hero Lunella, they can then reactivate that evade chance. The other important thing that I think people often overlooked is their glaive, where they do max health reducing damage, and yeah, it's pretty cool. So they'll do a little bit of damage based on the target's max health, and they'll reduce their damage when they attack. So that means that they do decent damage and they reduce the enemy's damage, which makes them more tanky on top of a bunch of evade. So if you are interested in PvP, I do recommend going with the Huntress route. They are pretty standard for that. The conversion, if you switch to other races, is pretty good for Huntresses. And I'm sorry that the stats for these are not wild. I cannot get enough honor on my main account right now due to Drake, so I'm on an alt doing this. But Huntresses is going to be your main go-to troop type when it comes to PvP, at least for tanking. It will also help out in Void quite a bit. The next one is the Archers. Archers are absolutely huge for Sylph. They give pretty much most of the damage. Any of the stages like the swamp and or group raids, the Archers are still the best. They have Sprig as a hero to buff them with mastery. They also buff Sprig. They also have precision strike for damaging more damage to rooted targets. There are two different types. There is the Zen and there is Dire. So the Zen archers are really good for the group stages and the swamp because their moral does not collapse. Zen Guardians will offer you no moral collapse and 20% faster attack speed. Very good for a boost. The Dire will cause more roots to come out. Those roots will then heal your trees for more, and also it will directly affect precision strike. Geez, that one is a tongue twister. So these are the backbone, especially when it comes to single target enemy damage. If they have a dragon or any type of hero, these are the go-to things to take them out. Plus, these ones also convert super well between races. Archers for Sylph are fantastic. But whether or not you go with the Zen or Dire depends on if you're doing Void, if you're doing group raids, or if you're doing the swamp, or if you're just doing PvP. Typically, not always, but typically the Dire are better for PvP, and for the world, like PvE, then the Zen typically do better. Granted, different setups and things like that have different effects. Next, we have trees. Trees are giant, giant trees on the battlefield. They absorb, so they absorb health from nearby rooted enemies. So the more roots, the more health that they'll absorb. They'll put down roots around people when they slam into the ground. They are magical creatures, just like Huntresses. They will also benefit from Gan. Gan also has a mastery for them, so make sure you level up Gan when you use trees. They also take a bunch of reduced damage from stuff. They take a 3x3 cell, so one of the problems with trees is there's only one tree per unit. It's like a mini super unit in some ways, but they can be super tanky. When it comes to PvP, I highly recommend having Huntresses in front of your trees to absorb the initial burst. From there, your trees can then take over and sustain themselves. And if it becomes a late fight and you still have some trees up, that's very good for you. Trees have two different forms. They have Zen and or Dire form. In one of the forms, I believe it is Dire form, the trees will reflect a portion of damage that they receive back at the person attacking them based on the tree's max health. I haven't noticed this to be a huge damage return, but it's there. It's kind of like the Thornmail armor from League of Legends. Then you have these Zen trees. I showed these in, it was a video when the new Awakened troops came out, but the Zen trees will summon a mini tree for like 15 seconds. Unfortunately, we can't boost that time that the mini trees are out there. I was hoping that Life Force from Gan would affect it. It doesn't. But one of the nice things is those mini trees will spawn closest to the enemies. So they'll actually be somewhat useful. They aren't just going to spawn in a random spot and spin in circles. They'll actually be in the fight. So that's pretty cool when it comes to the mini trees. So you have the Zen and the Dire. You can play around with them and figure out which one works best for you. One weakness of the trees is also the Fire Mage. Fire will deal a lot more damage, 300% more to the trees, so be careful of the enemy's Fire Mage. If you're on a newer server where people's mage research isn't maxed out and their mages are not high level, trees will do phenomenal. That being said, also in the Void, the trees will be extremely good in the Void because you only have to place 7 of them to get a full front line. Along with sieging, I always siege with the trees. For whatever reason, the trees are just so tanky, especially on siege battles. I don't use them versus dwarf because the snipers can take out the trees pretty easily, but versus anything else, the trees are fantastic. So Huntresses for PvP, they get boosted by Gan, and maybe throw in a couple trees for PvP. But when you're sieging, go with the trees. If you're not on the top of the curve for your server, go with silver trees. That way, if they die, not a big deal. If your trees don't die, then you can run with the gold trees for siege and not have any worries in the world. Just be careful attacking dwarf. And if there are a lot of warlocks, make sure that you place Tyrden and have Vega and Elena ready. Next, we have the Shrooms. So the Shroom Lords, these guys actually got a recent buff. So every time that they have their fungal growth, they then get 10% increased attack speed. I have a feeling that these will become more common. I have used them in certain stages because unlike the archers, they are not consistent throughout the battle. The Shroom Lords get stronger throughout the battle. However, they do AoE damage, which means that if something has really good sustain, say Rock and Monks with their heal, or trees, the Shrooms are going to be pretty much useless against them. However, if the enemy is using massive amounts of units, then the AoE can be really good, especially later on in that specific fight after the Shrooms have powered up a little bit. Say, for example, Skeletons with Lich. So the Shrooms are little AoE bombs. They'll let little guys run out and also blow up. They're pretty cool all around. With the new buff, I don't think they're super popular right now, but I bet you with Awakening, Shrooms will make a good comeback. They do convert races pretty well, so these would be Templars and Mechs. So that's not bad. And I think they're also ninjas. I could be wrong. Gan will boost up the Shroom Lords as far as their HP. They have no masteries, they have nobody to lean on for that, but Gan will definitely power them up. They're magical creatures, so unlike the archers, they will not have a moral boost ever, but at the same time, their moral will never collapse. If you are doing longer fights, or if you need to attack the enemy backline, shrooms are very, very good. They're for some reason their AI makes it so that they will start attacking the enemy frontline and then they switch and start attacking the enemy backline, which can be really good, especially say you're fighting humans and they have a bunch of archers. Yeah, screw their swords. If you can take out their archers, you just remove their DPS and then you can just clean up from there. So I have a feeling we will see more shrooms in the future. Next, we have is it Drake? Is that what? No, they're man of worms. I always call them Drakes, but now that I'm on the continent of Drake, uh, so man of worms, these are pretty cool. They too also got a somewhat recent buff where now they affect everything on the battlefield when they pop. Pretty much, a mana worm is the opposite of a turtle. A turtle you want to pop right at the beginning of the battle if you only have one and you get a big temporary boost right at the beginning of the battle. Mana worms you want to wait as long as you can before popping them. You pop them through Wild Dreams and Rude Awakening. So they build up through their Hibernation and Wild Dreams, and then they open up through Rude Awakening. Pretty much, it's every second that passes, they'll give a bigger buff with movement speed and attack speed. This will affect all of your troops on the battlefield. That includes siege. So if you are sieging and you're like farming walls for whatever reason, or you're trying to get the highest wall damage possible, make sure to include a mana worm. There are specific times in the game where you can benefit from mana worms. It seems like it's certain people's play styles that really benefit from the mana worms. For example, in PvP, if somebody is able to make it through the beginning and middle stages of a PvP, make it to the late stages, like the last minute, last 30 seconds of PvP, and then they pop a mana worm, they're pretty, in everything's even, they're pretty much going to win. But you also have to sacrifice a lot to place a mana worm for PvP. In the void and things like that, they can be super beneficial, especially with things like Shroom Lords, because the damage, the more you can stack the attack speed on later in a fight, the bigger boom you can get. So I do recommend play around with these. They're a little bit weird. It seems counterintuitive for later in the fight to get a bonus, but play around with them. They are pretty cool. If used appropriately, they can be very strong. I could do a whole separate video just on Mana Worm and just for Mana Worm for Siege. There's a lot with them. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the SylphTroops. I think probably pretty soon. I have a feeling I'll leave it up to the Patreons to figure out what the next video will be for the Patreon series, and it might be the Sylph Heroes. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. They can still vote. If you want to vote and you want to dictate to me what type of videos to make, just like Alberto did for this video in Men in Black, feel free to check out the link below. I think it's like $1 a month and you can vote on content. It's not bad at all. Also in the link below, we have our official OGC community Discord. I highly recommend going there to check it out. You can talk with Chip, Chan, you can talk to everybody. If you know somebody on Art of Conquest, they're on our Discord. So hop on over and join our Discord. We also have merchandise. Merchandise is coming in. So if you want t-shirts, sweatshirts, phone cases, whatever it looks like, I mean, get it if you want it. It doesn't affect me at all. All that I ask is that you smash the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. That helps me out more than you guys could ever know. But yeah, if you guys want a nice soft hoodie or something like that, feel free to go check it out or just browse around. So tomorrow we will do another video on Drake. I'll get you guys updated with what's going on for the Blood Moon House in Drake. And until then, guys, stay safe in Nor or on Drake. Bye, guys.